up on the left. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted.
You're listening to In The Huddle AU. Wow, episode 7. Welcome everyone. In the Huddle. I'm here with Drew.
Hi y'all.
I'm Nate. And we're just going to jump right into it. We have another light crew here. We're getting pretty used to it, aren't we?
Well, the boys, you know, they're out of school, so they're just
school's
running around
out.
crazy.
Yeah.
Drinking Mai Tais, getting King Kong-sized Bentang tank tops.
Yeah, if you're talking about Tommy, probably a couple of lattes.
Yeah, carrying around a purse, drinking lattes. No worries.
Oh, gosh. No, very good. But a rough week 5 in the NFL. The weekend started with an emotional Matt Hasselbeck leading the Colts on the road.
It's fantastic, right? Like, you want this out of your backup quarterback. You want, when you have someone like Andrew Luck that you've spent so much time on and so much money on, you want the backup to come in and be effective and not turn the ball over and just not make mistakes. And that's what he's doing.
Just some solid ball.
Yeah.
He was. I remember him when he was our Seattle quarterback for quite some time there, and took us to what was a loss to, or a controversial loss to the Steelers back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can expect a certain amount of production out of him, and he won't have that many turnovers either, and he showed that. Yeah,
that's what you want. You just want a guy to manage the game.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Then we had Cleveland shock Baltimore at Baltimore in overtime with my fellow alum Travis Coons, the Husky, with the field goal at the end, and McCown with 457 yards and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers.
Yeah, it's really good. And NFL is the parity. You know, it's the reason why we get bets and pick'ems and sure things wrong all the time, because there are so many outlaying factors that you cannot consider. And it's just the way the ball bounces sometimes. It's
and like you say, any given Sunday, right?
Man, that's the reason why they got a movie about it.
And then we have my Seattle Seahawks.
Oh.
I'm not excited about this, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But up 17 points at the end of the third quarter, and just completely exposed.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that in the 2-minute drill a little further, but I don't know if I can talk much more about that. We had the Bears squeeze out a 1-point win at Kansas City, and the tough news in that game was probably and arguably one of the best players in the league, Jamal Charles, going down with a torn ACL.
Yeah, and he was the first pick of the first round of the fantasy draft for most people. So myself being that first pick, I'm pretty upset about it. But look, the Chiefs are going to be fine. They've got 2 different running backs that they can choose from. They've got Shar Kendrick.
Pretty normal name.
Yeah, you know, you got Bob, Steve, Shar Kendrick.
Yeah, his last name is probably Smith.
So they have 2 running backs to choose from. They got Nile Davis. Nile Davis is a little bit more of a scat, vertical, kind of Woodhead style back.
Okay.
Shar Kendrick can step right in and fill the role. Fill the role as much as you can.
Play the role.
Me putting my shoe into Shaquille O'Neal's high top. I mean, he's not the same. He's not the same running back, but he knows the offense.
Yeah, sure.
And he has the same set of skills. They may not, his points on Madden might not be as high, but they will be going with Shar Kendrick. So if you are in fantasy, I would certainly pick up Shar Kendrick West over Nile Davis.
If you're light on running backs, right, Drew?
I am lying. I'm running with LeGarrette Blount until waivers clear tonight. That's all I've got.
All right, and then and lastly, Tom and Josh will enjoy this one. Is it time to remove the weed in Dallas and build a castle?
I just think this is so funny because Brandon Weeden, he is he's a journeyman
star.
He's a journeyman quarterback. He's 0-11 his last 11 games. He's 0-3 this year. And I believe a couple episodes ago I told you guys that he's a bum. But when you're 3rd and 6, you don't throw the 3-yard out. You don't, And when you're 2nd and 8, you don't throw the 2-yard slant. I mean, you have to understand as a quarterback that there are times where you have to perform and take a little bit of a chance but when he does take those chances, he turns the ball over. So that's why he's been erring on the side of caution.
I actually think there's probably only one person in the whole world that would disagree with us, and that's Mr. James.
So James, one of our loyal listeners, shout out to James. But it's just because Weeden played at his university team that he likes. But the Cowboys now have a bye, which could not come at a better time.
Yep.
They've got 2 weeks to prep with Matt Castle. And I'll tell you what, the one way to get to the Patriots, if you're gonna try to stop the Patriots, is to hit the quarterback. And Greg Hardy looked really hungry. So
he is ruthless.
Yeah, so with that defense, if they continue to pressure the quarterback and they have Matt Castle who can manage the game, not get turnovers, get the first down when you're 3rd and long or 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, that's the things that Weeden couldn't do.
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys will be fine.
Yeah. Oh, great. All right, well, let's move into our 2-minute drill here. We're going to touch on, or you're going to touch on, Drew, the exposure of Cam, right?
Yeah, so Seattle had been wanting so long to get Cam back for this holdout, and he performed so well against Detroit, and he was the key ingredient for the Legion of Boom to operate appropriately. But as the NFL does, when somebody thinks they have something figured out, they figure out a way to fix it.
Sure.
And they broke it apart with going vertical with the tight end in the seam. Tyler Eifert, who is a really good tight end, just took the top off of it. He would challenge Cam with his speed, going vertical and getting Cam to turn his hips and make it basically a man-on-man matchup rather than that zone or that team that they run as a secondary. Dalton kind of took a page out of Tom Brady's success in the Super Bowl and just targeted him directly. So they had the routes that would break out from that left seam. Eifert would hit it just straight up, and another problem is Seattle wasn't getting a chip on the line. You got to chip a tight end, especially if you know the tight end's trying to take the top off. You got to slow him down. So Cam is not the fastest guy. He thumps and he brings the wood, but if you target him directly, you see what happens. Eifert went 8 for 90 for 2 touchdowns. He had more yards. He had more yards than any utility player of the Bengals, and so Cincinnati has shown the key to beating Seattle, and I think that might kind of roll into next week. We'll see what happens.
You think Greg Olsen, that Carolina will plan to do the same with him?
The Panthers are undefeated. They're going into Seattle, who's a bit hurt. The Panthers have a really good tight end. The Panthers have a tall quarterback who can throw that seam route. So just look for it. If you guys like to look at interior linemen, watch how it goes with offensive line blocking and see how Olsen gets off his block and see if he takes that seam route against Cam Chancellor.
All right, this is just depressing me. Let's move on. And again, we are fortunate enough to be joined by Mr. Josh Jenkins at an undisclosed location somewhere overseas. How's it going, Josh?
Good, thanks, fellas. This is a bit of a hint, I'm at an island that the entire AFL seems to be at, so that shouldn't be too hard for people to figure out. But every single man and his dog that is associated with the AFL seems to be in the same city that I'm in.
Well, you go there to get deals done, don't you? Well,
apparently, but everyone's out of it on the bintangs and that. Well, there's a big hint. But on the bintangs and laying by the pool, so I'm having a good time anyway.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, hey, just jumping right into it without wasting any time.
Let's go.
So we had a very interesting weekend in the NFL once again, and your Lions starting out with a bit of a struggle, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the lame Lions at the moment. 0-5. Probably, I think they went 10-6 last year, so pretty ugly scenes in Detroit on the weekend. I was able to catch plenty of that game, and the loudest cheer that the fans at Ford Field gave was when Stafford got put to the bench, and I don't think he was sent to the bench because they just had enough of how he was performing. I think it was just to get him out of that situation and let him. Take the weight off his shoulders.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. I think when you look at what they did with Stafford, when a quarterback starts to get into an area where he just can't really feel like he can get out of, it's good just to pull the pin and let him have a little bit of a refresher and sit on the sideline and watch someone else do it. When they put in Orlovsky, I mean, granted, Orlovsky, he's terrible, but I mean, what are you going to do? It's the only thing you got. I reckon Stafford will come back next week. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But I think Stafford is. I think they'll be fine. I mean, they just can't get anything going. They've got a nice, reasonably well balanced offense. I guess they're a little short in the running backs. George Bell's not around, but they had a little bit high hopes for Abdullah as the rookie running back. He hasn't quite gotten his groove on, and the two receivers that were, they're supposed to be, 1,000-yard plus receivers. Megatron and Golden Tate. I read a column the other day that said Calvin Johnson is no longer Megatron, and the more I watch him, the more it seems to be the case. I mean, it's part of it is probably how the Lions are playing, but he just doesn't look to be that deep threat and run away from guys the way he used to. What do you two guys think?
Well, they do say that football is 90% mental. I'm not sure if that's the correct percentage, but for Calvin and as well for the offensive line, I mean, the offensive line is not performing in the pass blocking game, and they're also not performing in the running game. So it is one of those things. If Calvin's getting targeted so much that he can't get over 100 yards in any game this season, you start to get a bit sad about it.
And if you're not a young receiver and you're losing a step, that frustration just mounts to that 90% of the mental game, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the good thing about Calvin is he's not that type of person. He never has been. He's never shown that sort of diva personality that some wide receivers can show. So he's gonna stick to the task, and he'll work his way out of it. I'm sure he'll have some big games. And it's not like he's been. He's disappeared. He's had some, 70s, 80s, 60s. He's had a TD. Yeah. So he hasn't been completely out of it, but he just hasn't been his normal self. And I guess Stafford's the same. He's, 6 TDs and 8 interceptions is not a ratio that you really want. So it's tough times in Detroit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's jump to the other side of the spectrum, Josh, and the Bengals and Andy Dalton. They look like they're enjoying themselves.
Yes, well, it was. This is a game. I only saw a little bit of football on the weekend, and I made sure I went back to watch this game on NFL Game Pass. And Dalton really, AJ Green started off hot, and he was destroying Kerry Williams on the right side, and then Sherman came across and they changed it up, and he blanketed him pretty much after that. But Dalton was superb. He was tucking the ball. He ran for a big score. He was making big plays with his arm, and he just looks like a different person from the man we've seen in the past.
Yeah,
I guess
definitely.
The Bengals, I think the defensive line, Drew, is playing really good. Geno Atkins looks like he's really back 1 year removed from that ACL. He looks like he's playing really well.
Yeah. He's a pretty nasty player. I like his grunt for sure. I think he might carry around a knife in his uniform when he's running around out there.
Oh, look at
Well, it's interesting because he's a bad boy on the football field, and then, I guess the great thing about Hard Knocks is we saw him in Hard Knocks, and he seems like a really gentle, quiet sort of dude. So he's certainly got white line fever. But the other side of it, the coin, I guess, Seattle. It's a game. 17 points up. Not sure that they would have lost that game in the past 2 seasons. So another little bit of a question mark there for Seattle. But I guess it's two sides of the spectrum, and in that sense. But Dalton's got the weapons. I think they've arguably got Daniel Jeremiah from Move the Sticks, American podcast.
Oh, boy.
Believes outside of Andy Dalton and Tom Brady that the Bengals have more talent than the Patriots and the most talent in the league on the roster.
Oh, that's just funny to hear when you're talking about a Cincinnati team, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange things, but and we've said it all along. You can't judge them until they make the playoffs and do things in the playoffs. But in the same sense, you can only judge what's being put out in front of you, and it's pretty impressive. Yeah,
looking good so far. And then we had our Monday night game where Le'Veon.
Oh, was this a game?
Oh, that was a great game.
Le'Veon took just about every snap, didn't he? What was Mike Vick there for? Le'Veon just ran over everyone.
Oh, well, it wasn't. His feet are unbelievable. he hasn't really shown. I just love that. I love him. I guess obviously everyone loves his footwork and his ability to run the ball, but I love him when he splits out and plays wide receiver, and he's taking wildcat of everything. So that was a great game. The only thing that let me down is I took the points over under was 45.5, and it ended up being 44.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing, but that happens.
Yeah, Las Vegas definitely knew what they were doing when they put that point tally out. The Steelers finally got a drive from Vic. He brought. I mean, granted, he didn't score the touchdown. He wasn't even in on the last play, was he? When they converted that wildcat?
No, he was on the bench.
Yeah, but I mean, he did a really good job of moving the ball in that drive. We talked about earlier in some of the podcasts about how he rolled out and he had Antonio Brown wide open and he missed him, but he actually started converting on the fourth down. So it was really good to see him do that.
Yeah, absolutely. He made a couple of big plays and was responsible for the majority of that game-winning drive. So it's good for him because he's going to have to play another 2 to 3 games. I saw Roethlisberger warming up, and he was hardly moving. So Vic's going to have to hang in there for another 2 to 3 weeks. They get Martavis Bryant back this week, I believe. His suspension ended last week, but he was injured. So they should really they should be able to keep their head above water, especially now that Le'Veon Bell. His numbers in his 3 games since he's been back: 132 combined yards and a score, 150 and a score, 127 and a score.
It's pretty good. Not bad.
So he's pretty handy. He's a pretty handy player. I guess the one that number 84 is the one suffering without Roethlisberger. What was the record? He had 5 receptions, 50 yards. 25 games in a row or something. I could
almost blame his lack of production on Monday night for my loss to James.
Yeah, and he's gone below that 5 receptions, 50 yards twice in the last 3 weeks. So he's certainly suffering.
Yep. And how about just a bit of an update on your MVP race?
Yes, well, it was my pick was Andrew Luck. I'll get that out there and I'll air that. It's dirty laundry for sure. But it looks to be a racing 2 at the moment. Brady and Rodgers, the 2 best. I guess you could say now the 2 best quarterbacks clearly in the league. Peyton Manning's probably dropped away from that conversation, but just a comparison. Brady's had 103 fantasy points to Rodgers 112. Brady's ahead 1,387 passing yards to Rodgers 1,236, so he's over 150 ahead. And I guess another telling stat is Brady is 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah, he's hot.
And also has 1 rushing TD.
He's hot. He hasn't had a rushing TD in a while. He was really excited about that one on the weekend.
Well, the lineman moved faster than him.
Yeah, that was great to see. He really, often you see him, and it's not caught on camera much, but he'll go and get in the face and bump heads with Gronk or Edelman when they score or whatever. But it was great to see him, out the back of the end zone by himself and really spike that ball. And he was pumped. That's what you want to see, because we hear this stuff, how competitive he is, but he's often very mild mannered. So it's great to see. But I guess if you made me pick right now, I'd say I'd give it to Brady. I can't see how. I mean, both sides are undefeated, but how can you not give it to Brady? His start's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Could not disagree with that one. Well, let's do a bit of a look back here, huh? For your picks from last week.
If we have to.
Yeah. So your sure thing, you had the man himself, TB12, dropping 40 points from the Cowboys.
Yes, yeah. No, not too bad. He had 30, and I guess they were up. In fairness, Drew, they were up by they got 20 to 3 or something like that. So he probably didn't push it as much as he could have. But in fairness, I was a touchdown and a half short, so that's wrong.
Oh, well, there you go. And what do you have for us this week? What is your your sure thing?
Well, in our pre-production meeting from a certain person who is unable to make the podcast this week, he queried this one, but after throwing the ball 38 times, and you could have got some pretty good odds on that, Detroit Lions backup quarterback Dan Orlovsky, I'm not sure, that's a Polish name somewhere.
It's absolutely Polish, yes. It's the most Polish name there is.
It's definitely not Irish.
Well, he will not. Dan Orlovsky, the Polish pounder, will not throw the ball this week, not once, because Stafford will find his mojo against the Bears. as will Calvin Johnson. So Orlovsky will sit on the bench, he'll hold the clipboard, and Stafford will go to work.
Well, for Detroit's sake, let's hope so.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
All right, and then your pick'em. You had Atlanta to beat the Redskins. Well done.
Yeah, skin in my teeth. Atlanta made it. I actually thought Washington were going to win, and then Matty Ryan, after struggling, he orchestrated a 80-yard drive, and then Devontae Freeman. First of all, Ryan found him for TD reception, and for God knows what reason they took that back, and then he got it in anyway on the ground. So Atlanta just got that done in overtime thanks to that pick six. So thankfully, I don't have to cough up another $10.
Nice work. So what do you have this week, Josh?
Oh, boys, I think you guys could attest to this. It's an unbelievably equal week this week. So I'm just going to have to stick with the safe pick, take the home field advantage. I'm going to take the Packers to defeat San Diego at Lambeau Field. I'm not saying that the Chargers are a poor side at all. I think they're quite a talented side, but you're just going to have to take Green Bay this week.
Green Bay at home. Yep.
Yes.
And then finally, your bets. You had New England to cover the 8, Atlanta to cover the 7.5. And,
50% right, but you don't get 50% of the money, so that's wrong again.
So sorry to those listeners.
Yes, apologies if anyone has dropped the house this month's mortgage on it. Drop next month on this one. We'll go Atlanta to cover 3 against New Orleans, Detroit 2.5 to cover 2.5 against Chicago, and Seattle, a little bit of an interesting one here, Seattle to cover 6.5 against Carolina.
Wow, against an undefeated Carolina. Wow.
$6.40, Joseph, because I just think if Seattle drop this,
they're done.
It's curtains. And I know Carolina have a way of keeping games close, but I just think that Seattle are going to have to get the job done. Well, also I needed a bit of
just so you know, that line has moved out to 7, by the way. So the pundits have been betting the 6.5.
Well, I'll stick with it.
No, I think you should.
That
means the money's been heavy in your favor of what you're suggesting. So that's pretty good.
And
good luck with that. Hopefully, it seeing as though my horse was robbed of a run in the Swan Hill Cup. Put your money on this, and we won't go there, Nate. It's not the.
This isn't the Harness Racing Podcast.
No, not yet.
No, it's not. Although we should do so because there's a few clowns running that industry. But anyway, $6.40 for my bet, and hopefully we can get up because I've been struggling.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Well, Josh, thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. I'm back on deck next week. Can't wait to be back in the studio with the fellas, and I can't wait to get home Sunday and watch a full night's football because as great as Bali is and Far North Queensland before that, I'm looking forward to getting home and watching some NFL.
Yeah, bring me back a Bentang tank top, King Kong size, if they ask you what size.
King Kong size.
Quadruple XL. I'll ask for it now.
I'll take it. Thanks, mate.
All right, have fun with the
missus.
See you, bud. All right, everyone. Before we jump into our picks, which we know is the only reason why you listen to the podcast, Drew actually has a couple of things that he wants to talk about. The first thing is the Manning brothers.
Yeah, so Peyton Manning is he's an old guy, right? And he's been in the league a long time. He's been effective. He's starting to fall off, as we've seen towards the end of the year or towards the end of his career. But he broke a record this weekend, which was the passing yards record for regular season and playoffs. I think he's got over 70,000 yards now, and that was Brett Favre's old record. So that's one Manning record. The other Manning record, Eli Manning tied Phil Simms for most franchise victories for the Giants. So he's been there that long. That's really good. I mean, Phil Simms was a fantastic quarterback, and he's a Hall of Famer. So
better than his son.
Yeah, definitely better than Chris. Yeah. So for Eli to get to that 101 franchise victories, ties the most for the New York Giants. Congratulations to both the Manning brothers. They've obviously done a good job of following in their father's footsteps, or even surpassing it.
And for Peyton, at this point of his career, with all that he has gone through on the surgery table to be performing, just knows the game better than anyone and is just that smart. Right?
I would love to have him as an offensive coordinator when he retires.
For sure.
He would be fantastic.
And then the Tale of Two Steves.
Yeah, so we don't really touch on NCAA very much, but I think that it's appropriate at this time to talk about it. So Steve Spurrier, in the middle of the season, has just decided to retire. And I think Josh Jenkins would be excited about the fact that it was after an LSU bludgeoning for the Gamecocks. But I would like to mention that Steve Spurrier was a fantastic inventor or just conjurer of new offenses when he was at Florida, and he tried his hand at the Redskins in the NFL and didn't find it for him because he was really about the recruiting, and in the NCAA that's what it's all about. And so with Steve getting older, it's a little bit harder to recruit people, telling them that you're going to be there 2 or 3 years later. So
Sure.
he decided to pull the pin now. It's time for him to get out of the way, and I feel, even though it is in the middle of a season, it's a nice, good refresher for the Gamecocks. So I think the Gamecocks actually, as most teams do when a coach leaves, I think the Gamecocks will probably turn it around this weekend. And then the other one is a bit more of a sad one that we kind of saw coming at the beginning of the year. And Steve Sarkisian, he was put on probation, and then the next day he was fired from USC, who had a very promising start to the season, and they've got a fantastic stable of athletes. But Sarkisian has been let go, and he has entered into rehab. He was drunk during a game. I mean, you're a Division I coach, and you're drunk during an Arizona game, like.
The poor guy. I mean, not that there's an excuse for that, and there definitely isn't.
That's right. There's not.
So I'm not going to say that that's okay, but
he was going through a divorce.
He's going through a messy divorce,
and just being a coach and handling that pressure is difficult enough. But when you lean on, as Graham Corns calls it, the demon drink, bad things are going to happen. So as most people, because he is such a likable fella, most people would wish him the best, as we do. We hope
we definitely do.
Yeah, we hope he turns it around.
Yep. So before we conclude this episode, Drew and I are now up on the cutting block for how we did last week. So our sure things, Drew, you picked Freeman, Devontae that is, and Julio Jones to have over 200 yards combined. Well done, buddy.
Yeah, well, Julio didn't really necessarily bring it home, but Devontae is still hot.
God, Devontae is a stud.
Unbelievable that tandem of having that good of a wide receiver and having that good of a running back on your offense. I mean, just try to outscore Atlanta right now. Just try to stop. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the game against the Redskins, they got a pick 6 to win it. How good was that? How good was that?
No, that was great. So well done. And I've had Julio, and this is my second week I'd gone with him because he had a disappointing week the week before. So I had him coming back to redeem himself, having over 100 yards, and combined with Freeman for 3 TDs. Well, Julio had 67, so he let me down again. How often could we say something like that about such a star? But anyway, yeah, no good for me.
That's the NFL though. If a defensive coordinator wants their defense to take away one player, they can select one player and they can take him away. And that's what people are doing now. They're saying, okay, we're going to take away Julio, and if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us running the ball. And, I wouldn't necessarily say that Atlanta beat the Redskins running the ball, but they were effective running the ball enough to the point where they got them into overtime and they had a pick 6.
For sure.
What a great ending to a game. That was fantastic.
But I got it wrong. All right, and he's not here with us today, but Tom last week, he picked the Giants to have 30-plus points.
How'd that go?
They scored 30. He finally got one right.
Well, but he said 30-plus, so does 30-plus mean 31?
Is that inclusive of 30?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Does he... yeah, what does he get on this? Anyway, we'll get that one to the good fella. What do you have for this week? What do you have for your sure thing?
Well, okay. This one I'm really excited about because the Patriots being the one team that I really do follow religiously in the NFL, it's revenge week for us. because all of the stuff that we've been dealing with in the preseason, even leading into the Super Bowl, it's just been so ridiculous. Started with this team, the Colts, in the AFC Championship game last year. Started spreading the rumors about deflated footballs and how we couldn't win and we had to cheat to get there. And then, I mean, how many points did we put up with them in the second half after all of this happened? So it's time now. The Patriots are putting up 40 on the Colts for a revenge game. I don't give a stuff who the quarterback is for the Colts.
You're getting kind of emotional here, bud.
Patriots are going to bring it this weekend.
All right.
Put your house on it.
Your house. Okay, maybe not, but maybe just $1.
$1. Well, that's my house.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And for me, I have Tampa Bay to win. Ha! I'm joking. They have a bye. So I have
Tampa Bay's going to lose in the bye. I think they're an underdog.
So I actually have. Gosh, I have too much faith with this guy, but I have Julio and Devontae combining for 202 TDs at New Orleans.
Yeah,
if they can't get up there, I'm done. I will not put a bet on them again.
Yep.
And Tom, for his sure thing, he has Alex Smith throws it 40 times.
Ooh.
40 times.
Well, he's not really here to defend himself,
No,
but they have two running backs who have not touched the ball, who are fresh as. So look for Charkandrick West to get the ball in first and second downs, and then look for them to put Nile in third and long situations.
All right, so we'll see how you go on that, Tommy. And then with our pick'ems, Drew, last week you had Jacksonville to beat Tampa Bay. Oh,
Jameis does it again, doesn't he?
Oh, man, every time you go against him, he's just going to stick it right to you.
I didn't like him in college. I don't like him in the pros either. But
there's another reason why.
It is what it is. So my pick'em this week, going along with what you were saying about your sure thing, Atlanta continues their unbeaten streak against the Saints, 1-4 Saints.
Okay.
I mean, Willie Snead's coming along pretty well on the offense, but Drew Brees is throwing lollipops all over the place. So I think Atlanta will hammer the Saints this weekend.
All right. I had Green Bay at home to beat St. Louis, and that was a nice tick there for me.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Easy one, okay. And then this week, my pick, I have Seattle to bounce back at home to beat Carolina at CenturyLink.
That's
Carolina,
a bold
those are always tough games, but Seattle seems to always find a way to get on top, and they have to. Otherwise, I would venture to say that their season's just about done.
Fair enough to say that if you guys don't know that Nate is a Seahawks fan.
Does Drew like Alabama? And then
does the Tide roll?
And then Tom last week for his pick'em picked the Pats to beat Dallas. Well done, Tommy. You got that one correct.
I blind dog will find a bone every now and then, I guess.
Jeez, not here to defend himself. Just throwing haymakers. And this week for his pick'em, he has his Pats over the Colts, just like yourself.
Yeah. I think
So,
it's going to be one of those games. I mean, if Tom hasn't been playing angry at all this year, which it looks like he is.
Tom Brady, that is.
Boy, I just call him Tom, you know. I tell you what, boy, that's going to be something special this weekend.
And then let's move on to our bets. So our bets last week, Drew, you had New England to cover the 8.5, the Giants to cover the 7, Oakland the 5, and the Bears to cover 9. You got one of those correct, buddy.
Yeah. Well, the Pats have won the last 4 games by an average margin of 21. So if that helps you at all on your bets with them, you know, it is what it is. It's difficult to pick these games.
Yeah, it is. And so what do you have for this week?
So my bet for the week, as I was talking about in my pick'em, I've got the Falcons covering the -3. That's just one field goal. I mean, if they can't beat the Saints by more than a field goal, who can they beat? I've got the Jags covering the 1.5.
God, you love them.
You know, they're kind of a Cinderella team, aren't they? I've got the Bears covering the 3, and I've got the Panthers at Seattle covering the 7. If you take all 4 of those together and put them in a parlay and watch them all, it's really fun to watch. You get $11.97.
Buy yourself
What is that? That's
a couple Big Mac meals.
It's a 3-pack of underwear from Target.
Wow. All right, you just went there. All right, and my bet last week, I had Atlanta to cover, Green Bay to win, Buffalo to win, and I don't know why I went with you on this one. I had Jacksonville to win. So
I just like Jacksonville. I don't know what it is. I like Bortles.
Yeah, I know. I got 2 of the 4 right, but that's not enough. So sorry, people.
What's your bet of the week, Nate?
I have Atlanta on the road to win, Miami to play some inspired football with their new coach against the Titans. And I have Seattle at home over Carolina and the Jets to beat the Skins. And that's paying a measly $6.22.
Hey, that's all right. I actually think the Jets in a couple of weeks are going to be a really good matchup for the Patriots. So watch that space.
Oh. And let's get to Tom. He... Actually, out of all of us, he's the only one that got his bet right. He had the Cards, he had the Pats, he had the Broncos and the Giants to win. Well done, Tommy.
I'm pretty sure our listeners, if they're picking one of the four, they're not picking Tom.
He is not here to bask in this glory, is he? And this week, Tom went with straight wins again, picking the Pats again, and he picked my Seahawks, good boy, the Jets, and the Cardinals to win.
Good job, Tommy.
Nice work. All right. Well, that does us here for episode 7. Thanks for listening in. We will have a full crew next week.
Wow, really?
We will.
Oh, they're coming back from vacation.
They are. They're coming back from school holidays.
Sounds like a tough life.
Yeah, it'll be good to have the fellas back. But thanks again for listening.
Hey, share us on Facebook, Twitter, podcast.
Yep.
All of those.
Twitter, our handle is at In The Huddle AU. Find us on Facebook. And, comment, share, all those good things, and we'll get back to you.
Roll Tide, y'all.